we are a society that's looking for quick
Quick.
information
Yeah,
and digesting it quickly. So how do we get them to stop scrolling? And it's
yeah.
really those wow moments in a very quick and digestive way, but also authentic. I really believe that the next chapter of marketing is showing things in a very authentic way.
Welcome to Spill the Ink, a podcast by Reputation Inc., where we feature experts in growth and brand visibility for law firms and architecture, engineering, and construction firms. Now, let's get started with the show.
Hi, everyone. I'm Michelle Calcote King. I'm your host, and I'm the principal and president of Reputation Inc. We're a public relations and content marketing agency for professional services firms, including architecture, engineering, and construction firms. To learn more, go to rep-inc, that's inc with a K.com. One of the great and unique things about the architecture, engineering, and construction industry is that there are plenty of marketing visuals to work with. There's schematics, construction sites, finished buildings, you name it. And with today's advanced technology, in the field employees are one of your best resources for capturing pictures and videos that help us marketers tell the story that we need to tell. And really, all you need to get started is, or all your employees need, is the smartphone in their pockets. So today we're talking to Jessica Whitlock. She's the Orlando studio leader at RS&H. And she's here to share a little bit about how her team is using employee videos to generate great content for the firm. And we might pick her brain on a few other topics too. So
Yeah.
thanks for being here today.
Thank you. I'm excited.
Yeah. Well, let's start with just tell me a little bit about your role at RS&H and your career.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I am the Orlando studio leader for RS&H, and RS&H, we are an architecture, engineering, and consulting firm. We're nationwide with headquarters in Jacksonville, Florida. We've been in
That's where
business
I'm
for
based.
yeah, perfect. Yes. And we've been in business for over 80 years. So we really have that history and that trust with our clients. And my background's actually in interior design. And then as I got to RS&H, it started to kind of flourish and go into different markets, which I'm super excited about. And then our Orlando office, actually, we focus most of our attention on healthcare. So my attention and for majority of my career has always been healthcare, specifically for architecture.
That's great. Yeah. Well, so let's talk about getting employees engaged and using their own footage for those marketing initiatives. Like I saw you've done a lot of I think you call it live on site with RS&H. Just tell me a little bit about what you're doing and how it's been working so far.
Yeah. So actually, we've started this journey really recently, and it started to become a very organic way of how we kind of fell into it. And so I was actually on site for one of our projects that we were finishing up, and any architect or designer knows that as you go into the end of your project, you're pretty much on site for multiple days in a row for about 2 weeks or more. And
Yeah.
I was, on site during that time, and I was taking, of course, all my calls and marketing, meetings, from the site. And one marketing meeting I had, I was on site and I shared my camera, and so they could see, all the commotion and all the stuff going on in the background, and they were just super intrigued. "Where are you? What's going on?" And so I actually picked up my laptop and just started to walk them around the project. And then in that moment is when we had this aha moment of, well, we are this interested in it. I bet you everyone else would be too. And we started to talk about how we really don't see that kind of dynamic type of content from other architecture firms and how we could really use this to set ourselves apart. RS&H, we've also started at the same time some other initiatives around that are very similar content. One is called Mentor Minute, which is another little, content series that another one of our associates is creating, just really quick videos on mentorship within the architecture and engineering industry to younger associates coming up.
Very cool.
Yeah, and then RSH also rolled out recently, a day in the life where they follow their different associates around in different markets. You could be in buildings or you can be in transportation, and it's a really quick video to let them know this is basically the day in the life of an engineer or an architect. So, we've recently started to see really good positive feedback from this type of kind of content movement on social media.
Yeah, it really is. It's amazing. I just returned from a bucket list vacation in Egypt last
Oh my
week,
gosh, that's
and
amazing.
it was amazing. Talk about like amazing visuals and everything, but
Yeah,
it really is amazing to go on these vacations now and just use your phone. There's
I
no
know.
need for another
No,
camera, because I'm old enough to remember, having a bigger camera, and taking film to get, printed and that kind of
and
thing.
and
So
just hoping it turned out good. You're like, "I hope I got
right.
that picture I
Yes,
wanted."
right. Yeah, yeah, and not being able to check it, right in the
Mhm.
field. So what was your experience getting buy-in? Were there any concerns from either the marketing team or leadership?
So I think when it comes to buy-in, my experience has been based on relationships. And the stronger your relationships are, the easier the buy-in's gonna be. And that's for external and internal purposes. So I have a really strong relationship with our marketing team. Our marketing team's amazing. They don't silo themselves. They make sure they work with all of our different teams. And then when it comes to the client, we have really strong relationships with our clients. And so getting buy-in from them is also a really simple task. And this not may not be the case for every single project or every single client, especially some of
Right.
those projects that it's, the information, they don't want it to, kinda be public until later on. So there's only very specific projects we can, make sure we do it with, make sure we're not breaking any type of NDAs or anything like that. So, but it's really more based on relationships than
Got
anything.
it. Yeah, that's smart. Well, and also
Mhm.
having someone in your role who
Yeah,
respects marketing, seems
yeah,
to really understand marketing and work well with them. That's critical,
yeah.
to something like that. So
And typically the clients, they're just, like, excited as we are.
yeah,
And so they're excited. They're usually like, "Yeah, let's do it," and they wanna push it through as well. So we tend to have, pretty good support in that aspect, because we're all in sharing the same boat, and we all have the same outcome
yeah.
and value around it.
That's what I always tell clients. I always say you'd be surprised at, until you ask, you don't know. Because, I do, we have some clients that really want to protect that client relationship at all costs, which I understand. And so they might be a little fearful of asking, can we shoot video? Can we do this? And my advice is you'd really be surprised how much they too want to share the story. And obviously there is
Absolutely.
a time and place when confidentiality is key. There might be some proprietary technology you don't want to show, that kind of thing. But yeah, it's having that conversation.
Mhm.
Do you give your team or have you done any kind of training to kind of make sure they're capturing the right thing? How do you kind of, I don't know, make sure, you're getting what you want and they're kind of delivering the kind of content that you want?
So, yeah, so that's an interesting question. When we first started this, You know, I I'm not savvy when it comes to, making different videos and things like that, but when marketing asked me to kind of start this campaign and this endeavor, I kind of went in, full head first into the deep end and because I was really behind it. And so I started to work with them to learn how to quickly make these videos, which apps are gonna be the most beneficial to me, which is gonna be the best ones for editing. And they really helped me with that so that I could create these honestly on the spot, push them through my channels, and then we share them together through both my personal channels on LinkedIn as well as the company channels. So they kind
Perfect.
of work with me on how we share that content. And they've also showed me a lot of cool tips and tricks I would have known before. And so it was kind of a really collaborative effort and learning to kind of put those things together that I'll admit I'm now personally using in my own personal different Instagram posts and contents and things like that. So
That's awesome. Can you share some of those apps or tips that have been particularly helpful?
yeah, so I remember my first uh content I pushed through after we had this aha moment, I was very nervous about it. And so I was like, I don't know, I haven't really done this before. So I created a video and I just sent it to marketing. I'm like, you guys just make it look good. And when I got it back, it looked amazing. And so they were able to kind of like point out the different things of how they cut it and, what to look for. And the biggest thing I've learned is making sure your video really shouldn't be over like a minute and a half. If it's over
Right.
a minute and a half, you just lost your audience.
Yeah.
And so that was something I learned through them. And also making sure that the music you set behind it and your captions and things are going to be something that as people are scrolling, because that's what we're a scrolling generation, what's gonna make them stop? Even if it's just for a few seconds and pay attention to your content. And so they were able to kind of give me tips around that. And so I was able to download like a film app where it actually allows me to take the video, put it into that app, make all my edits, apply the music, and make it a little bit more customizable instead of just using, real templates that you would see on Instagram or
Right.
Facebook, actually being able to create it the exact way you want it to be able to show the content in the way that you want people to perceive it.
That's great. And do you use any tech other than your phone? Do you have are you thinking about lighting or lapel mics, that kind of thing? Or do you really just use the phone?
That's actually that's like a good thought. We actually only use our phones, and we do that on purpose. We we've thought about what would we do if we took it to the next level, and then I kind of was like, I really don't want to, not because it's more work or it's more equipment, but it starts to make it less kind of less
Right. A
authentic,
little too
right?
polished. Yeah.
It's a little too polished. And if we think about what our different generations are really craving these days, they're really craving that sense of connection but in a very authentic way. And so if you go onto different architectural firm social medias, you'll start to see, a lot of it's static and a lot of it is either post project professional polished photography or it's polished renderings. But what about that in between? What about the process? What about the construction? The thing that everyone wants to see and be a part of? How does it get built? What does that
Yeah.
look like? And so being able to go in with just a phone and really show the authentic environment of that process is, I think, really unique and is what people are really wanting to see. It's something different. It's quick and it's dynamic.
Yeah, absolutely. So how are you expanding this? So you talked about the mentor
Mhm.
videos. Are there other folks like you in sort of similar roles that you're now going, hey, if you're going to be at this site, here's what we're doing. How are you kind of rolling that out?
Our marketing team and myself and some of the other people who started to take on this initiative, even though they're not labeled marketing, it's all about how do you encourage the associates to stop and take content. And I think a lot of it is streamlining the process. How do we streamline this process? So if we want our associates to really get involved and taking a lot of this, how do we as a company provide them with templates and resources as well as instructions to make it easier on them. I'm a type of person who loves to do it myself and I find it fascinating, but not everyone's like that.
Right.
So our company is actually taking a deeper look into creating a program and creating resources on our own to provide to our associates so that when they're on site, here's a quick little template. If you want to take photos or a video, just put it in this app or this system that we've already pre-created for you with all the branding needed, and you
Love
can
it.
just spit it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, or if you get content, just send it to marketing and they put it together for you and they push it out. And so
Right.
it's giving them, different types of resources so it makes their lives easier because what's going to happen is if try to encourage associates to do those things, it takes time. It
Yeah.
takes time putting content together. So how do we streamline that process? And that's what we're working on now and we're really excited about it.
Do you find that, and this is kind of a loaded question because I know how I've found it with clients that it kind of it empowers people, or it makes them feel good about themselves to
Yeah.
kind of be the person to have kind of visibility on social
Mhm.
media with regards to their job or have their job share the content that they're creating. And especially younger people who are used to this and have been grown up with this kind of life where social media is kind of central to everything. Do you find that it's kind of empowering and kind of almost like an HR tool
Yes,
somewhat?
absolutely,
Hmm.
absolutely. Because everyone likes, when they post on Instagram and they tag a restaurant and then they see that restaurant
Right.
share it in
Yeah.
stories, your heart just bursts. And it doesn't matter if 2 people looked at it or if a million people looked at it. It was the fact that they took notice and they really liked how you were promoting them and they were supporting you. So, and it also, it's not only very uplifting and encouraging to our entire associate, um, team. But it's also, how do you encourage them to want to be a part of the face of the brand? You
Right.
know?
Yeah.
They want to be a part of that vision, they wanna be a part of that brand, and it also shows to our clients our entire breadth of our team, and they get to see all these different faces that maybe they don't get to see every single day, but they get to see it through social media. It really, kinda opens the door of like, "Wow, their team is really expansive, I had no idea," or, "I didn't know that person was, an aerospace engineer," and get to see a little bit more about our company that maybe they're only seeing a little bit a part of, but now they get to see, everything that we can do and what we're capable of.
Yeah. I love that. That's really fantastic. This is a podcast on marketing for AEC industry. Since you do collaborate so well with your marketing team, how have you been able to build that great relationship? So maybe if there's a marketer out there that's trying to build better relationships with studio leaders like
Mhm.
yourself, what's been the kind of key to you working effectively with them?
I would 100% say do not work in a silo. We are a connected community, and we seek that out. And so when marketers are, especially in the architecture and design industry, when you're trying to put together content, your designers and architects will know exactly what the clients are wanting to see and needing to see from a branding perspective, as well as project styles. Everyone tends to have their style when they put out their content showing brand and different types of projects, and your designers and your architects will be the ones that be able to tell you, "Okay, we know what they're looking for. This is the way that it needs to be." And working together and collaboratively, from an early stage, that's always
Yeah.
key
Right.
from an early stage, really creates a strong partnership, and so that when you put out these different contents, you're able to ensure that what you're putting out is exactly what your audience is looking for.
Yeah, that's great. Fantastic advice. And
Yeah,
would love to hear, just as a final note before we go,
sure.
kind of where you see, and I know you're not a marketer, but since you are involved in what are some of what's the future for architecture or in architecture engineering firms, building brand visibility, engaging with audiences. Um, what trends do you see happening?
Yeah. So I do think that architecture marketing has always relied on relationships and those wow moments to really capture and convey the expertise that we're really trying to get out there. And that's not going away. It's not going to go
Yeah.
away. However, these tactics evolve into these quick, digestible, authentic moments. It's kind of like guerrilla marketing. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with guerrilla marketing.
Mm, yeah.
And it started in the early millennium, and it really grew in popularity as social media started to gain in popularity.
Yeah.
And it's these really interactive and innovative and unconventional marketing tactics to grab the attention of our audience in a very quick way. Again, going back to the comment I made about the scrolling, we are a society that's looking for quick
Quick.
information
Yeah.
and digesting it quickly. So how do we get them to stop scrolling? And it's
Yeah.
really those wow moments in a very quick and digestive way, but also authentic. I really believe that the next chapter of marketing is showing things in a very authentic way. If you're on Instagram, you'll see these stories where it's like the Instagram moment, but what actually really happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's grabbing you is not the Instagram moment. What's grabbing you is what really happened, because
Right.
that's the authentic lens. Is pulling back the curtain and showing this is reality, and
Yeah.
people want that connection to that. They're done with the polished,
Right.
kind of overexposed content. They want to have real, authentic connections with people.
I've seen a lot of writing about that, especially,
Yeah,
with AI and deep
yeah,
fakes and filters on pictures that we are kind of coming a little full circle to people going, but what's really real?
yes,
And so, yeah, that's a really fantastic point. So,
yeah.
well, thank you so much for
Oh, of
joining me to talk
course.
about this. And I love, we'll probably put up a few links on the podcast page to some of the videos you've done, because they are really great examples of how to do this well. But if anybody wants to reach out to you and talk to you a little bit more about this, what would be the best way for them to do that?
I would say right through my email, which is jessica.whitlock@rsnh.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Spill the Ink, a podcast by Reputation Inc. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.